After graduating from Georgetown University with a major in international economics, Broken Arrow native Joe Newhouse became a jet pilot in the U.S. Navy and married Laura, his college sweetheart. He was assigned to the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz, and then Lieutenant Newhouse flew multiple combat missions in an EA-6B Prowler during the Iraq War, providing aerial coverage to the Marine convoys over Fallujah and Baghdad, ultimately earning an air medal. After the war, he was transferred to Pensacola to teach fighter tactics at Navy Flight School, where he was later named Instructor Pilot of the Year and promoted to Lieutenant Commander. He's qualified as an expert in both rifle and pistol and tested fluent in 2 foreign languages. Upon completion of the service, Joe and Laura returned to Tulsa to raise their 4 children and become active members of their church, the River Oaks Presbyterian. Joe graduated #1 in his master's program at Chapman University in Los Angeles. He's earned certification as a project management professional and a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. He is also licensed as a real estate broker and runs his own business called Paralegal. He holds a top secret clearance and continues to serve part-time in the Navy Reserve as a military advisor to NATO. He is proud to serve Congressman Jim Bridenstine as the field representative. Please welcome Lieutenant Commander Joe Newhouse.
I speak 4 languages, but I can't figure out the microphone. Well, Buster, Rickard, thank you so much for your warm introduction and also organizing this event today. And band, thank you so much. And band, thank you so much for your wonderful concert. And you played You Lost That Loving Feeling. As part of Get My Navy Wings, that was part of our graduation requirements. I used to sing this for my wife, Laura, all the time. She loves me to put the uniform on. Well, speaking of uniform, I enjoy putting on this uniform, but there are a few cases where you should not wear this uniform. One is I've learned, don't wear this uniform while driving a van. People will ask to buy ice cream from you. Also, don't wear this anywhere around ketchup. It's a bad idea. Back your tours off the list. And finally, be careful if you wear this uniform in a nursing home. I have been pinched by 80-year-old ladies. True story, one of them said to me, it was kind of a twinkle in her eye, she said, "What are they going to do, put me in prison?" Well, veterans out there, I salute you. Thank you so much for your service. And it is an honor to be with you, ladies and gentlemen. Memorial Day is a great time for us to take a step back and remember our fallen loved ones who have departed from us. And we pay special tribute to veterans during that time, whether they've fallen on the battlefield or they're returned as heroes and they've departed. But Memorial Day is also a time that we can take a step forward and memorialize those veterans who live in kind of in-between world. And what I mean by that is they might be physically here with us, but their minds and their memories are still out on the battlefield. And what I'm talking about is PTSD. And so in a way, we're very good at honoring those who have fallen in the line of duty. But when they come home and have issues, we're still working on that. And so I do want to talk to you a little about PTSD and how we can be helpful in that regard. And I'd say my first exposure to this wasn't in the military. It's actually when I was 8 years old. My son Will is back here, he's 8 years old. And I remember the coach came out, I love playing sports, coach came out before the season started. He's like, "Hey, look, you got a choice. You can take this box of candy bars around and sell them as a fundraiser, or your dad can write a check for $40 and save you the trouble." My dad never wrote that check. He was never going to. So I got a chance to go door to door. And lo and behold, after going door to door for a long time, I made my way to the other neighborhood next to us, and I rang the doorbell. And normally as an 8-year-old kid, and the door opens, you're used to looking up at the adult, right? But this time, it was a little different. I was looking eye to eye with somebody. There was a gentleman in his mid-30s, and he was sitting in a wheelchair. He was wearing his Vietnam War fatigues. This was 1985, so it tells me that he may have been doing this for the past 12 years or so. He opens the door, And I was very uncomfortable. It felt awkward for me. I've not been around people with disabilities by that time, and I didn't know what to say, so I sputtered out my candy bar, my baseball team. And unfortunately, he said yes. I was hoping he'd say no, so I could move on because I felt again kind of awkward. He invited me into his home, and he wheeled across the living room floor. And I could tell, though, it was very odd, because this was not his home. This was Aunt Gertrude's home, or somebody else. There was cereal cabinets, couches with nice pillows on top, nice very ladylike kind of things, right? This was not the home of a Vietnam War warrior, but he wheeled me back to where his money was. He opened up kind of a coin purse, coin bag, I guess. And with very shaky hands, he reaches in there and grabs a dollar. And I was thinking to myself, wow, how embarrassing. I wish he'd say no to buying this overpriced candy bar. This is not where I want to be. He was very gracious. And we departed, the door closed. And even as an 8-year-old kid, I thought, wow, that was, what an experience right there. It just felt like when the door closed, he was going back to his world. And I'm not sure what that world really entails, but there are people who live in that kind of a world. So it tells me that he was in a foreign environment. This was not his home. He was physically there. Maybe he wore those fatigues every day in his life for the past 12 years. I'm not really sure. But it really made a double mark in my soul about how that happens. And then now, fast forward times where off the war and getting to see friends to go through some of the same experiences. And I come up with a term called living in action, if you will. We all know KIA, killed in action, MIA, missing in action. Well, I think there should be a term living in action, LIA, and that's for those that they're physically here and their mind is somewhere else. But I'm proud to say that I think that since the Vietnam War, we've come a very long ways in how we help veterans in these kinds of cases. We're very much more open about it. And I want to leave you today with 3 very practical kind of how-to guide to help veterans in these kinds of cases. And step number 1 is a simple listen and respect. If you're like me, I try to jump to answers right away. I solve things right away. That's not always the best answer. Sometimes it's just about listening to a veteran, respecting where he or she is coming from, and going about from that direction. Here's an example. Just a while back, I was walking with a veteran friend of mine who had seen some pretty good experienced combat time, right? And as we were walking down the sidewalk, out of the corner of my eye comes kind of a creepy bug. And you know how it is if you're walking and you might see like a piece of glass or nail or a piece of gum. As you're walking, you make kind of an awkward movement to avoid it, right? Well, that's what he did to avoid the bug. And to me, I'm thinking, this is all happening very quick. I'm thinking, how would you avoid the bug? I try to step on bugs, you know. And I look over at him, kind of a quick glance, and I think he could tell by the look in my face, you know, what I was thinking. And he looked at me, looked me in the eyes and said, Joe, I'm just tired of killing. And it really got to me pretty good. And normally I've got a smart aleck comment first about everything in life. This case was not one of them. I just took silence and realized I'm just going to be quiet. And just, okay, we move on. And just so you know, in case you and I are out walking somewhere, I will step on bugs still. But I won't get around him. You know? So listen and respect. Number 2 is just finding practical ways you can help veterans or people who are not as fortunate. I think a lot of times we try to solve everything all at once. You see a problem and think, oh, maybe we'll fix the whole problem. But really, it takes a lot of us to fix problems. God has blessed us with different gifts and resources. Sometimes it's just a matter of taking what we've been given and using those in our capacity that we can to help out. Here's an example. One lady I know, her name is Pam. She makes clothes for veterans. That's her special gift. That's how she likes to give. Curtis and Judy Evans, they're not here today, but they helped donate some land towards a veteran who their family had lost their home to a fire. That's the Sweeter family. So you may know Kim Shakers, I guess, you may know the Sweeters. They're actually building a home 2 miles south of here, Spring Hill Farms. They lost their home to Mr. Sweeter. He suffered from PTSD, local tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Lost their home to a fire, and the community of Bixby came together and said, look, we want to team up with Operation Fire Home and build you a home for free. It's amazing. So the Evans helped towards the land, Castle Rock Builders helped towards building it, New Gulf Resources is an energy company in town, helped financially with some of the support, and many others helped contribute as well. This wasn't any one person taking on the entire load. This is people just saying, look, I can do this, I can do this. And they were contributing. So there's ways to find just small financial ways that we can contribute toward these items. And then number 3, finally, if you're not blessed financially, there's other ways you can give of your time. Even just, really, it's all about just loving veterans, loving those who are less fortunate. And a case comes to mind of the Blue Star Mothers, for example. They'll go to the VA hospitals and the Oklahoma Department of VA run nursing homes, and they'll make cookies for the veterans out there. And right up their day, some of the VFW groups will go there and play bingo for a Friday evening with some of the veterans, which I think is fantastic. A while back, I was out there, and oftentimes on my blazer, I'll wear a new set of Navy wings. And one of the residents, he looked up at me in a wheelchair, and he said, "Oh, you're a pilot, huh?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, "I'm a pilot too." And he started rattling off all the planes he flew and times he had served. And he said, "You know what I really miss the most?" I said, I miss going fast in the planes. I was like, okay. And I was just joking. I said, "Well, you know what? We can see how fast your wheelchair can go." And he looked up at me and said, "That's a great idea." He's trying to get his friend to race with us, too. So, well, next thing you know, we were racing down the hallway in a wheelchair, where I was asked to probably stop that. But anyways, it's all about just getting out there, going to visit. You don't have to have a degree in psychology to help people like that. All it is giving your time and some of your love. So on this Memorial Day, of course, we want to remember those who are fallen around us, and they well deserve it, in their lives and the line of duty. At the same time, we have those heroes living among us that need our attention too. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. What an honor to be with you.